Hey guys, in this video I'll explain in detail what optimization of expert advisors is. And even if you don't plan to do optimizations yourself, this video will still be interesting for you because it will help you find answers to questions like how trading bots are created, how they are made profitable, and how their trading parameters are set up. In short, I promise it will be at least somewhat interesting. So let's get started. So guys, if you're interested in automated trading and have already used the Metatrader 5 platform, you've probably noticed that it has a section called the Strategy Tester. Here it is, located in the View menu. We find the Strategy Tester and turn it on. This brings up a block like this for testing expert advisors. Here, in this drop-down list, you can select any expert advisor available on your platform. I'll be showing you using my trading bot, Swingmaster, as an example and will run its test. How are tests conducted? I covered all of this in my previous video. In this video, I want to take a closer look at how to optimize a trading bot. So, to help you understand the optimization process and why it's done, let me start by saying that almost any trading bot, probably 99% of expert advisors used for trading on the Metatrader 5 platform, use technical indicators. These indicators help us, or rather, help the expert advisor, meaning the trading bot, to determine the future movement, the future direction of the price. So here we have the MACD indicator, there's an oscillator, we have some volume indicators, there's also the Bollinger Bands indicator with several periods and different deviations, and there's a moving average. And this combination of indicators helps the expert advisor determine where the price will move next, so it can make a trade in that direction and profit from this small speculation from the change in the asset's price. So, when an expert advisor is meticulously created with a considerably large number of various parameters, the diligent developer or the end user must carefully determine and precisely specify which particular value each individual technical indicator should effectively utilize within this inherently complex, within this extensive and comprehensive large set of indicators. For example, look, the MACD indicator here has different periods. You can easily set the period, for example, right here to 12 and then here to 5. You can then apply it to the opening prices, setting this particular one to 44, for instance. And now, observe closely how the indicator dynamically changes and responds. And now it shows us a slightly different dynamic. So, in this way, by changing the indicator parameters, we can determine the future direction of price movement more subtly, more roughly, or more precisely. Another indicator can serve as a filter for the previous indicator, filtering out false signals. A third indicator shows the direction of the trend. In general, it's like a whole symphony, where each indicator plays its important role, just like Bollinger Bands. Here, we set the period to 312 and the deviation to 2. We can set the period to 120 and the deviation to 3 and get an indicator like this, which already shows us some other data for the expert advisor. And visually, of course, it looks different. So, both I and anyone else looking at the price chart have the same question. With which period for this indicator, if we use it in an expert advisor, will trading be more profitable, and with which will it be less profitable? Yes, we need to determine all these parameters in advance, before we even start trading, so that we don't incur losses, but instead make a profit. So, when we meticulously use the powerful optimization capabilities within this sophisticated strategy tester and the comprehensive optimizer, specifically within the designated inputs block, we are essentially defining and configuring the crucial parameters that will guide and govern the subsequent, thorough, and iterative optimization process for further optimization. How does this work? Well, for example, what can we use here as an example? Let's consider, for example, that we are currently using the Bollinger Bands indicator, specifically focusing on this upper band, which is quite important. First of all, when we genuinely want to optimize it, for example, we carefully take and precisely set the specific period of this particular indicator. That is to say, exactly what I clearly showed you, this precise period. So, we set the starting period. From which period do we start? Iterating through these parameters. Let's say starting from period 100 or, for example, from period 50. That is, the optimization will continue. The MT5 optimizer will go through all possible options. For instance, with period 50, it will check what profitability the advisor has. Then we set the step to 1 and finish, say, at 400. So it will check period 50 and see what the profitability is. Then it will check what the profitability is at period 51, then 52, 53, 54, and determine that, for example, the advisor achieves maximum profit with period 162. Here, deviation, that is the deviation parameter, we'll set it to 162, and for the deviation itself, for example, we'll set it to 1. This will create a very narrow channel, so narrow that it's basically hidden and not visible at all. Okay, we check this box here, meaning we will use this value. For starters, let's set the smallest possible value, something like 0.1. Now, I am going to proceed and add a second additional indicator so that we will have both this particular one and this distinct red line. And now, right here, we have this specific indicator that we are currently using as a clear example, and you can observe it much more clearly. So, a significant deviation of precisely 0.1 means that we will commence optimizing with a very narrow, indeed a quite narrow channel. This is a deviation of exactly 0.1 for this particular indicator. The step, meaning the incremental increase, let's also carefully set to precisely 0.1. And the maximum value, the ultimate one we will ultimately finish at, will be, for instance, 5. That will effectively give us a wide, expansive channel. Let's definitively set it to 5. And then the indicator starts. Look, for the previous parameter, for the previous variable, where we determined that the expert advisor works best with a period of 162 when we use Bollinger Bands, there were 351 options. So, the optimizer works like this. It kind of picks a password, selects a code, the most effective code for the operation of this advisor. From 50 to 400, we looked at all the options and determined that 162 was the best. The advisor went through 351 options just on the Bollinger Bands indicator, just for one period. Now, for the deviation, we go through values from 0.1 to 5, and we have 50 options. And the minimum distance of the current price from the central Bollinger Band line at the precise moment of entering a trade is also a crucial parameter we carefully consider, so that we absolutely do not enter a trade for a price reversal that is too close to the channel's boundaries. This helps to ensure more robust and reliable trading decisions. For example, I meticulously set the initial value to precisely 100 points with a very precise and incremental step of exactly 1 unit. I then allowed the maximum permissible value to extend all the way up to 1000. Consequently, through this carefully defined range and precise incrementation, we are presented with a substantial total of 901 distinct options that require comprehensive checking. So, if we enter a trade for a price reversal back into the channel when the price goes beyond the Bollinger Bands, here we can set the maximum value. For example, let's put 3. So, when the Bollinger indicator goes outside the channel, we trade on the reversal and we look at what distance the price should be from the center of the channel. Yes, and we set the minimum value to 100 points, so for example, somewhere around here will be the minimum value. That is to say, in order to successfully catch some significant reversals, for example right here, so that we can effectively catch a clear reversal from this specific point to this particular point, and then again from this point to this other point. So this is the overall strategy. The automated trading advisor was meticulously optimized on the previous trading site. I personally optimized this sophisticated advisor, and it subsequently found these truly great and profitable trades for me. But more on that later. In this way, we will go through each indicator in the strategy tester, or rather in the optimizer, and for all indicators, and that includes Bollinger Bands. Here we have Bollinger Bands for entry and Bollinger Bands for exiting a trade, for leaving the market. Here we have a moving average. We can set the period from 1 up to 2000. We want to see how the moving average is used. right? The different ways it can be applied. We'll have 2000 and all of this adds up together. So if we determine that an indicator with a period of 162 works well, then we go through this indicator with a period of 162, then try the moving average with a period of 1, then with a period of 2, then with a period of 3, and so on, combining different parameters with each other. In the strategy tester, this results in millions and millions of combinations being tested. And the tests can take not just 1 hour, not even 2 or 3, but sometimes even a whole day, to configure an expert advisor for trading on a single currency pair. Thus, for each indicator, we set the starting period, the step for parameter iteration. For example, if we set 10 here, then the first value we check will be 100, then 110, then 120, then 130, 140, 150, and so on until we reach 1000. In this way, we optimize all these indicators across all the parameters we iterate through. Next, in the comprehensive optimizer, we meticulously consider the crucial period setting. On which specific and carefully chosen period will we effectively optimize this sophisticated trading bot? Right now, I am diligently optimizing for the extensive and significant period spanning from the middle of 2018 all the way through to 2023. So that's 2019, 2020, and 2023. That's about 3 years of optimization. I am running the optimization of the expert advisor specifically with these time interval parameters. I don't use forward testing because it works kind of stupidly, and while the idea was probably good to immediately recheck the optimization results, I prefer to check them manually. Look, the reason I don't choose today's date or the year 2025, right now, according to the calendar, it's October 2nd, 2025, is as follows. The reason I don't choose the year 2025, but instead set it to 2023, is because I use the optimizer to select parameters from 2018 to 2023, and then I check them on the segment from 2023 to 2025 to see if the parameters I picked on this older part of the history will work in the future. In other words, I train the advisor to trade and then check whether it can actually trade, whether it really learned how to trade. You can shorten the period. For example, set it not to 2023 here, but say 2024, the end of 2024, and recheck as of now the 10th month of 2025. Basically, over 10 months, we can also generally see how well it has learned to trade. So next, I generally do not recommend using these execution deviations, primarily because they will almost certainly just confuse you significantly during the crucial optimization stage. It's often better to avoid them entirely to maintain clarity and focus on more impactful adjustments, ensuring a smoother and more efficient development process overall. This is more probably a variable for testing purposes. Regarding the overall quality of the quotes, I strongly recommend that you consider utilizing the powerful optimizer feature, specifically applying it to the initial opening prices that are recorded at the beginning of each trading period. Why opening prices? This is the roughest type of optimization, which will give you a lot of results, rough optimization results, because the best option is to optimize on every tick. But if you set it to every tick, the optimization will take a week for just one asset. We don't need that. We need faster results so that the optimizer works for about an hour and gives us a ready result, which we can then continue to work with, double check, and run forward tests on the every tick history. So, we optimize on opening prices and check on ticks. And as for the deposit size, well, that depends on the strategies used by the expert advisor. As for my advisors, including Swingmaster, they don't use dangerous money management methods. There's no averaging, no martingale. In general, you can even start with $100, so you can set it to 100 here. Yes, I test with thousands, so that the advisor doesn't filter out some trades based on the maximum drawdown criterion. If you trade with 100 and optimize, then most likely, even with the minimum lot size, we'll end up with some drawdown. That is, also set the leverage, well, set it to 1 to 500. The deposit currency is USD. That's it. And as for the optimization algorithms, this is a fast algorithm. That's all, we don't change anything else. As for the time frame, of course, we need to choose the one that we will use for real trading. For the active instrument that we have chosen for this particular analysis, we selected the Australian dollar when compared against the Canadian dollar. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am now commencing the optimization process and will proceed to click the Start button to initiate the optimization of the expert advisor, ensuring that all the various parameters and settings I have meticulously checked and verified here are properly applied and utilized for the best possible outcome. For myself, I have meticulously saved specific set files that significantly help me to effectively optimize my trading bots, already pre-configured with the precisely specified parameters, those crucial parameters clearly marked with start, step, and stop. That is, I can now meticulously set all the various parameters and specific criteria that are essential for the optimization process. Once these are precisely configured, I can then initiate the optimization, which will prompt the computer to systematically and thoroughly go through all the numerous possible options and combinations for the parameters that have been carefully specified and defined within the comprehensive strategy tester environment. This powerful tool allows for an exhaustive evaluation. Here, as you can clearly observe, I have successfully optimized the previously mentioned and extensively developed expert advisor, ensuring its performance is thoroughly evaluated and refined for optimal trading strategies. I didn't particularly like this specific test result. There's some kind of noticeable sawtooth pattern here, the deposit isn't consistently growing as expected, and we typically filter out such unsatisfactory test results. However, I will still show you this particular instance now, especially once we thoroughly optimize the advisor on this specific historical period. I'm putting everything on pause for now because this optimization is currently showing that it will take about 33 minutes. And here we have, well, almost 11,000 different options for significant optimization. Let's see what we get. So guys, our extensive optimization process is finally finished and it meticulously took 36, almost 37 full minutes to complete. And during this comprehensive optimization, the expert advisor diligently found a truly huge number of different viable options, which, as you can clearly see, are primarily based on various intricate combinations of periods and specific values of different technical indicators, which of course ultimately resulted in significantly different profit outcomes and financial results. But profit is not the only most important metric. We also have such metrics as the number of trades, the profit factor, the expected value of a win, the size of the trading drawdown, and the recovery factor. PAO. These are the essential and crucial metrics by which we can effectively filter and meticulously sift through the various and diverse results. As you can clearly see, we have successfully optimized our performance and strategies from the year 2018 all the way through to the year 2024. Now today, we are setting it up to thoroughly observe and understand exactly how this particular expert advisor truly works right now. In other words, we are going to conduct a comprehensive forward test. And now, yes, of course, we absolutely need to meticulously set the testing parameters to run precisely on ticks, ensuring the utmost accuracy in our evaluation. Subsequently, we will confidently launch this comprehensive test to thoroughly observe and evaluate exactly how the expert advisor functions and performs with the specific optimized parameters it has diligently found and provided for us here, right within this interface. I'll run this test in accelerated mode because otherwise it will be very slow, since testing on ticks is slow. Now just imagine how optimization works on ticks. Very, very slowly. That is, it could even take several days to run such a test, while the one we did on open prices took just 36 minutes. So, the test has started. I'll put this video in accelerated mode. So guys, this is what our test looks like. And the forward test. It's about here. so we can see growth. This isn't the final version that we've selected because we still have different options here. We can filter by recovery factor, pick the best one, or for example, look at some other indicator parameters, check and double check how it works. In this way, we can perform a detailed tick-by-tick recheck, utilize our data, and subsequently run a complete forward test. Basically, the entire test in full, including the period that we didn't optimize but are rechecking to see how it works. Each time, we'll get these different equity growth charts. Just a reminder, this is an expert advisor, my swing master. We'll be getting these various equity growth charts. And look, my test took about 14 minutes. The optimization took about 40 minutes. So, overall, optimizing a single currency pair takes me about an hour, at least an hour. And of course, I don't just take the very first test result. I also look at and recheck different options to compare them and choose the best ones, because we select the best specifically by comparing different options. This is how the optimization of an expert advisor is carried out. We went through all these periods in the optimizer, which we set here for the indicators. And the optimizer gives us a table like this with different results. We filter them by maximum profit, profit factor, expected value of winnings, drawdown, and recovery factor. And we choose the best one. And the best of the best we save and use for trading. And I personally re-optimize the expert advisor every 6 months so that it always matches all the changes in the market. And this makes it possible for the expert advisor to always be profitable, even after a year, 2 years, or 5 years, because many traders make the mistake of optimizing once and then just letting it trade. It keeps trading after a year, after 2 years, but its performance gets worse and worse because the parameters become outdated and you need to update the set files and maybe adjust something in the expert advisor's settings. So guys, in this video, I showed you how optimization is done. I hope it wasn't too boring for you. That's all for now. See you next time.